What is good, guys? It is Reese from Powerlifting Talks. Just before we get too into it, if you please like and subscribe, it would make my day. Okay. Um, there's a little saying I've been kind of saying to myself recently, which has really helped me, like, just I guess lower my ego a little bit, especially when it comes to the gym. Is less is more. Now, I'm gonna kind of go right into a topic here. Let's say you said, "Hey, Reese, bench 135 for 100 reps in the least amount of sets as possible." Now, there's a couple ways you could do this. You could go to failure on every single one of those sets. Let's say I get 25 reps, then like 23, 20, and it just kind of keeps going down. Or what if I did, I don't know, a couple sets, but I left about 3 or 4 in the tank? Now, actually, I don't like that. I don't like that saying. Let's say you just like get as many reps as possible, let's say in 5 sets. Now, I would like to argue that if I went 3 reps from failure on my first 4 sets and then went to failure, I argue that that will produce more reps than all the way to failure. Now, what am I trying to say here? Before, I was really, really into this idea of, you know what? Let's just do not that many sets, but let's go really, really hard for every set. And it works more in a bodybuilding sense. When it comes to powerlifting, I think management of fatigue is so important. So something I have been switching. This is my first day where it's an in between a light day and a heavy day. I'm just gonna call it my medium day or light heavy day, whatever you want to call it. Doesn't really matter. So for almost all these sets here, I have about 1 or 2 reps left in the tank. Now, I used to always kind of be like, as a powerlifter, why would you ever do stuff where you have so much more left in the tank? Like, isn't that how you make progress, is by always going hard? Well, yes, of course. Doing a set of failure is going to produce a lot of stimulus, but you know what else that's going to produce? It's going to produce a lot of fatigue. Now, there's a ratio from stimulus to fatigue. And once you get within, I'd say 1 to 0 reps in reserve, the stimulus is pretty high, but I think that extra stimulus you get from pushing to failure is much less compared to the extra fatigue you build. Now, where am I trying to go with this? I think it is still important to do some sets to failure, because if you always go below failure, then sometimes you kind of forget what that feels like. That's why I'm also a big advocate of always going to failure on any accessory exercises. Exceptions would be like Bulgarian split squats, just because they are brutal and they are very taxing on the brain and the body. Like, generally leg stuff, like if it's leg extensions, of course I'm still gonna go to failure, but I'd say like single leg squats and some of those other, even though they're accessory exercises, there are big exercises and they're very fatiguing. Still leave a couple in there, you'll still get a good stimulus. But I would say, ever since I kind of made the conscious decision to be like, you know what? It's okay. I know I'm always in the gym. Like, I want to be my record, want to be my record. It feels so good just to push past. But sometimes you gotta be like, you know what? Let's keep 1 or 2. And just in this video, I think all these sets of 225. This first one, I could have maybe got 2 more. It was hard to say. But all the other ones, I for sure had 1 more left in the tank, where it wasn't a crazy struggle rep. But I definitely still got a stimulus for that. Now, since I did this, my fatigue is way, way better. It's so better, in fact, that even on my medium day here, and even on my heavy days where I don't go crazy hard in every single set, I could actually get away with 2 whole extra sets of cable flies just to get a little bit more hypertrophy going on in the chest, produce a little bit more force through there. But even after doing those 2 other sets, I am less fatigued compared if I just did my 6 or 7 sets of bench, every single one to failure. In fact, nowadays, if I do anything like squat, bench, or deadlift to failure, I'm like, God, I am like, wow, I really felt that. Like, give me like 6 minutes here. And even after that, I'm like, man, the systemic fatigue that I built up just from that one set is going to affect everything else. Now, of course, doing a set of RPE 8, you're still going to get a little bit fatigued, but just keeping that rep or 2 in the tank is so huge. I used to never understand it. I'm like, why would you ever do that? No, guys, it is worth it. So the point is less is more. I would say like once every week and a half to 2 weeks, take one of your big lifts all the way to failure. It kind of checks you in to make sure you still know what that feels like on the big lifts. It also kind of makes sure it's like, oh, I am still progressing, because that's another kind of hard thing to figure out. Because my strategy before, I kind of went to powerlifting, and as more of a bodybuilder, I'd be like, well, this is exactly what I do. I do 3 sets of 10 on bench. First 2 sets, always get to 10 no matter what. And the very last set, if I got to 13, I would up 5 pounds. Now, this was a very easy, like, stupid proof, because as long as you go super hard in your last set, then you know exactly what number you're going to get to, so you know if you can increase weight. When it comes to powerlifting, when you're always leaving something in the tank, it's kind of like hard to judge it. So instead of judging it based on the numbers, you're more or less judging it based on the feeling. Like, for example, I know this is uploading a bench day, but I did my back and legs today, and I noticed, hey, this is my light day. And my last light day when I started with deadlifts, that actually felt harder that first set than my first set on deadlifts for today when I started with squats. So you kind of get the idea like, oh, that was a lot easier. I could definitely add 5 or 10 pounds and still match that RPE. That's kind of more the goal when you're looking at progression in powerlifting. Or also looking what your big singles are like, if those are getting easier, those are getting better. It's tricky. I'm still pretty new to this, guys, and there's still a lot to learn. Um, but I definitely think just chilling out, and then that when you do chill out and you don't take everything to super ultra failure, it's honestly way less stressful in the gym. Because I feel like before I'd always be like, okay, Reese, let's push yourself, go crazy hard, do what you gotta do. Now it's like, okay, aiming for RP8, aiming for RP4 on some of my lifts. I used to joke a lot about RP4 and be like, why would anyone ever do that? No, it can make sense. But you still get a decent amount of skill practice in, and it's really the skill practice. Or practicing uncomfortable positions. You can check out earlier videos if you want more on that. But yeah, that's the big lesson. Chill out in the intensity once every like week and a half, 2 weeks, maybe once a week. Take one of your big lists all the way to failure if it's your big heavy day. But for the most part, you should be like sub 70, 80% of your true ultimate maximum effort that you can produce. I think that way you'll still leave a lot in the tank. The fatigue doesn't transfer over to the sessions as much. You always want to be as recovered as possible. That's what matters the most. Okay, thank you guys so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.